Check one. 1, 2, 3. Check one.
Check one.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are awaiting the arrival of the chief guest. So we kindly request you to put your mobile phones into silent mode.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the auspicious echoes of bagpipers, we are now witnessing the arrival of the chief guest of this special occasion, General Jerry De Silva, retired RWP, VSP, USP, the former Chancellor of General Sir John Kothawala Defence University, and the former Commander of the Sri Lanka Army, and Mrs. De Silva.
chief guest, General Jerry De Silva, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen, we warmly welcome you to the launch of the book, Beyond Rank, Leadership and Legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris by Mr. Kithsiri Amaratunga.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a celebration of life, leadership, and legacy of a visionary leader who transformed a national institution and inspired a nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, other than I being a compeer, I'm standing here as one of the former students of Kotalavala Defense Academy, rather, I would say. So this morning when I was coming from Kandavala Road, let me add some informality, with this aroma of Maliban, we call it Mari Suanda by then. I just went back to the nostalgic memories of my cadetship by then. So when we joined, it was only the old auditorium, which seemed like a great luxury in life that a cadet or any of the students could see. And we had only one PowerPoint projector by then to the whole academy. I think by then, though, it was like the most sophisticated auditorium in Sri Lanka other than the BMICH by then we had. And we are from an era where how to do a PowerPoint presentation was taught with OHP, overhead projectors, where most of them are now in museums. The library we had, of course, was very rich. It has been rich ever since. But we, of course, as the officer cadets who had mastered the field craft, why things are seen, shape, shadow, silhouette, and surface and space, we used to choose the biggest book which was available by then, the Britannica Encyclopedia, and take a cover from the librarian and have a nice nap. When I told this to the present commandant, he said, our time it was the book of Tintin, which was the biggest book, and Asterix, which we used to take a cover. By then, as cadets, we had a personal vehicle to back and forth from the training wing to the academic wing and so on, which was called forward roll, I think. The student officers now don't enjoy that facility. And each lecturer or the instructor, whoever came, used to tell us, you are the worst batch that we have ever seen. And by then there were only two wings, academic wing and the training wing. The faculty, the word faculty was never spoken or heard in these premises. But when I joined this premises or this institute in 2013 as a student to read my master's, I experienced the paradigm shift that it has undergone. The academy has been transformed into a fully fledged university with 8 faculties with complete infrastructure, which later transformed into 11 faculties. With this infrastructure, I was astonished or flabbergasted to see that that has been blended with the discipline. Everybody had to abide by how to walk, not to walk, where to go, where not to go, what to talk, and what time to do, right time, right place, and right dress, etc. And all these buildings were with appropriate sophistication, which I felt so proud as a student. Anyway, I am still so jealous with the generation now, because by then we didn't have a July ball, because we didn't have a commandant like Major General Milinda Peiris by then. So all this development in terms of quality, capacity, and facilities, I think we all know. The great personality, the hero and the giant who was behind all this expansion, quality expansion is none other than Major General Milinda Peiris. Ladies and gentlemen, as it's a book launch, if somebody asked about the book, or rather somebody asked about what shape of the water holds, I'll get many answers which I cannot challenge that answer is wrong. So same way this book as well, I had that doubt how to categorize this book. I remember as a child when this Anura Horatius book, Gini Avisaha Gini Keli, was introduced, the presenter himself said, Man danna meka me mona jatiye potakda kiyala meka maha amutuma potak. It includes everything. So same way, when you read Chinta Lakshmi's Aranakata Pembela, the reader could visualize, fantasize the lifestyle, the nature and the background which was in. Same way, when you read Kavi Kandula, I used to live in that age-old era, the language, everything I felt so familiar. So same way, when I went through this book, I just felt, it's not only a biography, or I cannot give it an interpretation. For someone, it's a good cross-section of the contemporary history. For someone, it's a handbook of leadership. For someone, it's a book of military history. For someone, it is a great collection of nostalgic memories of a youngster. So ladies and gentlemen, we leave it to you to decide how you feel about the book. Major General Milinda Peiris stands as a key figure, distinguished figure in the transformation of Kothalavala Defence University into a prestige seat of learning, an institution where military discipline meets academic excellence and where knowledge, leadership and the service converges to shape future generations.
Indeed, Shaminder, as you rightfully mentioned, his legacy reminds us that true leadership is not measured merely by the rank, but by the institutions we build, the people we inspire, and the values we leave behind. Ladies and gentlemen, lighting the oil lamp at the commencement of a ceremony symbolizes the dispelling of darkness and the illumination of knowledge, wisdom, and inspiration. On this special occasion, as we launch the book, Beyond Rank, Leadership and Legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris, may the light of the lamp symbolize the enduring values of leadership, service, wisdom, and legacy reflected in the life and the career of Major General Milinda Peiris.
With this hope and in anticipation of an inspiring celebration of his remarkable journey, we respectfully invite the following dignitaries to take part in the auspicious lighting of the oil lamp, marking the commencement of this memorable occasion.
General Jerry De Silva, the chief guest of this special occasion.
Marshal of the Air Force, Roshan Gunatilaka.
General S.H.S. Kotegoda, the Chancellor of KDU.
Lieutenant General K.B.N.P. Premaratna, the Commander of the Sri Lanka Army.
Admiral Professor Jayantha Columbage, the former Secretary to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Priyantha Veerasurya, Inspector General of Police.
Rear Admiral H.G.U. Dhammika Kumara, the Vice Chancellor of KDU.
Iran Champika De Silva, Principal of Nalanda College.
Mr. Vijitayappa.
Mr. Kithsiri Amaratunga.
Major General and Mrs. Milinda Peiris.
May the lamp lit before you bring success and dissemination of knowledge through the lens of beyond rank, leadership and legacy. Thank you.
In our cultural tradition, a welcome dance is more than a gesture of courtesy. It is an expression of respect, gratitude, and goodwill. Ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here today to celebrate the launch of the book Beyond Rank, Leadership and Legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris, this traditional dance carries a special significance. It serves as a graceful invocation seeking blessings for this memorable occasion while symbolizing the values of wisdom, knowledge, achievement and service that are beautifully reflected in the journey and the legacy behind the honorable occasion today.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we extend our warmest welcome to our distinguished guests and invoke blessings upon this momentous occasion, please welcome the dancing team of Kotalawala Defence University as they present this traditional welcome dance.
Thank you for that graceful and captivating performance, which has beautifully set the tone for this auspicious occasion.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my distinct privilege and honor to invite Major General Milinda Peiris to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Our distinguished chief guest, General Jerry De Silva and Madam De Silva, Marshal of the Air Force, Prashant Gunatilaka, General Shanta Godagoda, Chancellor of the Kotalala Defense University, Admiral Professor Jainath Kolambage, today's book reviewer, Commander of the Army, Lieutenant General Nilantha Premaratna, and Inspector General of Police, Mr. Priyantha Veerasurya. Former Chief of Defence Staff, Commanders of the Tri-Services, the Vice Chancellor of General Sir John Kotalala Defence University, Rear Admiral Dhammika Kumara, Madam Perra and Madam Kobekadua, distinguished senior officers, former commandants, vice chancellors of KDU, vice chancellors and past UGC chairpersons, vice chancellors of state and non-state universities, senior professors, academic and administrative staff of KDU, the Deputy Principal of my alma mater, Nalanda College, also here at present. Assistant Chief Commissioner, Deshan Milinda, representing Chief Commissioner of Scouts and the members of the Scouting Fraternity. My dear friends, relatives, KDU cadets, and day scholars, and my dear soldiers who fought the war with me. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of you this evening to the launch of Beyond Rank, Leadership Legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris. Looking around this auditorium, I see people from many different chapters of my life. Some have known me since my school days. Some shared with me early years of military career, especially my batchmates. The difficult years of conflict by others. Some served with me in the army, some in the higher education sector. Others worked with me at KDU. And of course, there are teachers, colleagues, friends, and family members who have been part of my journey in one way or another. So for me, this evening is much more than the launch of a book. It is a reunion. It is a time to remember. And all above, it is time to say thank you. I am deeply honored by the presence of our chief guest, General Jerry De Silva. Sir, you have been my senior officer, my commander of the army, and more importantly, a mentor whose influence on my career goes back to many years. I had the privilege of serving you as the first staff officer at 3 Division in Kandy. From there onwards to Eastern Command as G2 Ops, and finally as the MA, military assistant to the commander of the army when you became the commander of the army. Many of the lessons I learned during that period stayed with me throughout my career. Your presence here today and your generous forward to the book mean a great deal to me. Thank you, sir. Admiral Professor Janath Kolumbage, who has kindly undertaken to review the book tonight. My sincere appreciation and thanks, Admiral Janath. Your association goes back to many years, particularly through KDU. And I am very grateful that you accepted this responsibility without any hesitation. I warmly welcome the serving commander of the Army, General Milinda Peiris, former Chief of Defence Staff, Tri-Forces Commanders, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Priyantha Veerasurya, senior officers, and all other distinguished guests. Your presence brings back many memories of friendship and professional association formed over many years. I am particularly pleased to welcome Madam Pereira and Madam Kubekadua. Your presence connects this evening with most important personalities and periods of military history that remain very close to my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, when I first assumed duties as a Vice Chancellor in December 2008, I inherited an institution that had already been built and nurtured by many dedicated commandants and Vice Chancellor. Whatever we were able to achieve during my 2 tenures of 11 years was possible because of those foundations and because of the dedicated people who worked with me. I therefore acknowledge with great gratitude all my predecessors. Many of them are here this evening. I could see almost the 2 commandants, General Hettiarachi and AVM G.Y. De Silva, and Admiral J.J. Ranasinghe and AVM Sagara Kottagadeniya, who followed me, and the current Vice Chancellor, Rear Admiral Dhammika, also there. Therefore, I acknowledge with great gratitude my predecessors, many of whom are here, as I mentioned. And I'm equally grateful to my successors who continued the journey. I warmly welcome the present Vice Chancellor, Rear Admiral Dhammik Kumara, and thank him and his team for taking KDU forward and for organizing this elegant event. Thank you so much, Dhammika, for all these arrangements. Also, I must commend General Kamal Gunratna, Mr. Austin Fernando, Mr. Kannasen Hettiarachchi. They were my Secretary Defenses. Of course, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. They have helped me a lot to bring KDU to this level. Let me also go back a little further. Before that, I remain deeply grateful to every one of them. And I am particularly happy to see our KDU cadets and day scholars here this evening. After all, they are the reason why a university exists. They are the future, and I wish them every success and to see them as future leaders in the future. Long before the army, long before KDU, two schools, Isipathan and Nalanda, played an important role in shaping me. I am therefore very pleased to welcome the deputy principal, since principal could not make it at the last moment, of my alma mater, Nalanda College. My association with Scouting has also been an important part of my life since my school days. And I warmly welcome the representatives of the Chief Scout Commissioner and fellow members of the Scouting fraternity. I am especially happy to see my Scoutmaster, Mr. C.W. Senivaratna, here with us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, about 3 years ago, just before my retirement from KDU, I requested my KDU colleague, Mr. Kithsiri Amaratunga, whether he could undertake the difficult task of writing my biography. Since I have been a little difficult in the university, he would have thought this is going to be much more harder than otherwise. What followed was almost 3 years of going through memories, documents, photographs, interviews, and conversations with people connected with different stages of my life. I will leave the story of how Beyond Rank came into being to my author, Mr. Kithsiri itself. But I must thank him for accepting my request, for his patience, and for bringing this book to completion. I thankfully welcome Mr. Vijita Yapa, the chairman of the Vijita Yapa Publications, and Mrs. Yapa. My special thanks goes to Brigadier Sri Mudannayaka, my first commanding officer of the 4th Armored Regiment, Sri Lanka Armored Corps. I can't see him, I think he should be there. Yes, sir. For allowing us to use important photographs from his personal collection and to use his documentary that he has published. I am pleased to welcome Mr. Bandara Disanayaka, chairman of the Sages campus and Sakya group of companies, and members of the Sages campus for this occasion and the support extended. Finally, let me welcome my batchmates and fellow military officers, my family and extended family. Ladies and gentlemen, when I look around this auditorium, I do not simply see a distinguished gathering. I see my schoolmates, fellow scouts, seniors and colleagues in the army, KDU family, friends, and my family. people who have been part of different chapters of my life. That is what makes this evening so special for me. I hope that Beyond the Rank will not simply be a record of my journey alone. I hope it will also bring back memories for many of you and perhaps remind us that where rank or the position we hold in life, it is the people we meet, the relationships that we build, and the contributions we make that ultimately matter. It is my privilege and pleasure to welcome every one of you to the launch of Beyond Rank, the legacy and leadership of Major General Milinda Peiris. Thank you, and you are most warmly welcome.
Thank you, sir, for those thoughtful and inspiring words. We truly appreciate your gracious welcome and the sentiments you have shared with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Major General Milinda Peiris, a gentleman and a military leader who crafted generations of learning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a cinematographic experience of Major General Milinda Peiris from his birth to the end of his tenure as the Vice Chancellor of KDU.
Individual of the highest standing, armed with a combination of military, academic and administrative expertise, an innovative and pragmatic leader, a lifetime of service to the nation, a patriotic son, selflessly serving Mother Sri Lanka. In the mission to eradicate terrorism, he always placed the motherland at the forefront. And the awards received are just one testimony to his bravery. A recipient of the prestigious awards, Rana Vikrama, Rana Sura, Uttama Seva Padakama, and Vishishta Seva Vibhushana. He is the proud recipient of the Legion of Merit, awarded by the President of the United States of America for exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service. A war hero who took lead in ending the 30-year-long war against terror. He played a pivotal role in Balavegya 2, Rivirasa 2 and 3, Satjaya 1, 2 and 3, Palali expansion operation, as well as the final phase of the liberation of the East operation. While commanding the 2-2 division, the youngest officer then to be promoted as Major General served in this capacity for over 9 years. Signifying his distinctive prowess as a proficient personality in the history of the Sri Lanka Army. Born on the 12th of August 1961, Milinda Priyadarshana Peiris went on to be the gallant warrior we all know today. One who has indeed become a pride to our motherland. Being a proud old boy of Isipathana College and Nalanda College, who was later awarded the honorary status of Nalanda Kirti Shri in 2017. he made the crucial decision to serve his motherland by joining the army on the 28th of April 1980. His first posting was at the Mankulam Army Detachment as the second lieutenant of the 1st Reconnaissance Regiment of Sri Lanka Armoured Corps in 1981. As a young officer, he understood the need for career growth through hard work and dedicated service. As a result of his distinctive spirit and his exemplary skills on the battlefield, his military career began to take flight. He was promoted based on merit, performance and military acumen, and he rose through the ranks in the army. His distinguished career spans operational, training and staff appointments. However, on September 1996, darkness dawned on his life when he was severely injured in Murusumuday during Sath Jaya 3 operation. Blessed with a speedy recovery from the grievous injuries he sustained, he then embarked on continuing to serve the nation. Major General Milinda Peiris has held many key appointments during his career as a senior military officer, such as being the commander of the 561 Infantry Brigade in Omanthay, commander of the 232 Infantry Brigade in Vala Chennai, commander of the Armoured Brigade, Director Operations at the Joint Operations Headquarters at the Ministry of Defence, and as the Defence Military, Naval and Air Attaché for Sri Lanka in the USA, Washington, D.C. In 2008, he was appointed as the Vice-Chancellor of General Sir John Kothalavala University. Whilst being the Vice-Chancellor, he was bestowed with the honour of being the Military Secretary of the Army Headquarters and also served as a Director General for the Centre for Research and Development. He also served as the Colonel of the Regiment of Mechanized Infantry Regiment from 2009 to 2013 and subsequently relinquished duties of the Mechanized Infantry Regiment to become the Colonel Commandant of the Sri Lanka Armoured Corps, his parent regiment. The opportunity to hold multiple high-ranking positions simultaneously was a testimony to his work attributes, experience and accomplishments. Major General Milinda Peiris served as the Vice-Chancellor for a period of over 7 years, during which he has taken the institute to great heights, and he has proved to be an agent of change by transforming the Defence University to be a higher education institution. Major General Milinda Peiris took an untiring effort to establish the medical faculty of KDU and the affiliated University Hospital, which became nationally and internationally known for its unique ability to produce military medical graduates of the highest caliber. He has received an international award for outstanding contribution to education, awarded by World Chancellors and Vice-Chancellors Congress in June 2014, as well as an Education Leadership Award awarded by World Education Congress Global Awards in partnership with CIMA in July 2015. Subsequently to a 7-year stint at KDU, he reached the pinnacle of his career when he was appointed as the Chief of Staff of the Sri Lanka Army, and after rendering his service as the Chief of Staff, Major General Milinda Peiris stepped into retirement in August 2016. In 2019, Major General Milinda Peiris was recalled to service by His Excellency the President, and he was reappointed as the Vice-Chancellor of the KDU and was also appointed as the Chief Commissioner of the Sri Lanka Scouts Association. Under the leadership of Major General Milinda Peiris, backed by his tireless contribution and long-term vision, KDU was led on a path of rapid progression. to reach the 4th place among the top 10 prestigious military academies in the world. Furthermore, the university made its way to be ranked high in the Times Higher Education Impact Ranking as the #1 university in Sri Lanka for quality education, reducing inequalities, and also for gender equality. With continuous infrastructure advancements to further develop the university as a state-of-the-art university, Major General Milinda Peiris' leadership paved the way for the university to be awarded President's Colours and University Colours, a rare honour a university could earn. A passionate soldier and an academic, Major General Milinda Peiris has been instrumental in reimagining education in Sri Lanka, using the skills, knowledge and discipline gathered through 3 decades in the army. He has been able to achieve the impossible and turn the Defence University into a global leader in higher education. As he ends nearly 11 years of dedicated service to KDU, he leaves this unique portal of higher education, having elevated it to be a very prominent university in South Asia, with state-of-the-art facilities in 11 academic faculties, offering over 50 internationally recognized high-quality degree programs at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. Despite his seriousness in professional affairs, Major General Milinda Peiris is a jovial and fun-loving person who cherishes the time he spends with his family. He is married to Nilan, who is a lawyer by profession, and they are blessed with 2 sons, Malik and Avinash, who are also second-generation Nalambians. Not restricted to the battlefield and the safekeeping of the country, a true soldier is also dedicated towards the well-being and development of the motherland, enabling it to be globally competitive in various strata. A true hero, Major General Milinda Peiris is an exemplary visionary who is committed to uplifting the identity of our motherland, Sri Lanka.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was a tribute to the iconic leader, Major General Milinda Peiris. Mr. Vijitayapa is the founder, editor of 3 national newspapers, the Sunday Island, the Island and the Sunday Times. He was the Sri Lanka correspondent of many international newspapers, including the Times London. He is now the chairman of the Vijitayapa Group. Ladies and gentlemen, I cordially invite Mr. Yapa for the publisher's address. Over to you, Mr. Yapa.
Distinguished audience, I'm not going to repeat all the names of the people who are here. It's an incredible array of people who have come here to felicitate and to recognize the leadership of Major General Milinda Peiris. I came limping here. Unfortunately, I had no way of joining the army because I was neither a sportsman, but my skills are more in literary areas. I'm not going to speak about Major General Milinda Peiris because I'm sure there will be many who will speak. And we have seen also the tribute to him in that film and the various other ways in which he has achieved greatness. Leadership, that is what is important in the long run. And we are standing in this ground which was honored by Sir John Kotharavala, who gifted this land to the Kotharavala Defence Academy, and where they were able to establish this great university, the fourth best university, fourth best military university in the world, according to Rohan Gunaratna, a specialist in terrorist studies and who is now in Singapore. With regard to Sir John, so many memories come back of him. Many of you will remember the story of how at Bandung in Indonesia, he blasted Zhou Enlai, one of the leaders of China. Jawaharlal Nehru, the Prime Minister of India, came up to Sir John and said, "You shouldn't have done that. Why didn't you show me your speech before you delivered that?" Sir John turned to Jawaharlal Nehru and said, "Do you show me your speech before you speak?" That was the greatness of Sir John. I remember going to his farm in London, in UK, at Biddington, and there's a beautiful swimming pool out in the open. And there are 2 or 3 little announcements that are made. Please don't use this as your toilet. This is not your toilet. The toilets are inside to the left. But that is the greatness of the man. He conveyed his message very simply, very, very clearly. When I was at the island, we wrote this story of Sir John when he came to the Bristol Hotel, which borders on one side, it was in front of Cargill's, on the other side, it was Bailey Street. And there, he walked in, and there was a British army person who was sitting there. And that person had ordered roast chicken. But he was very anxious to see what Sir John will do. He didn't know who Sir John was. But then he looked very closely and he didn't know who he was, but he waited. Then he told his friend who was with him, "Whatever this man does to this chicken, I will do to him first." That was the challenge. Sir John overheard it. When the waiter brought the roast chicken, Sir John kept it on the table Firstly, he worshipped the chicken. Then he did something which I will not describe here. But then he looked at this Britisher and said, "Your turn." That man shied away. He got the waiter to pack his chicken and walked away. That was Sir John. But this is the interesting part of the story which many of you may not know. I printed this story in the island, and a few days later a postcard arrived. And it was from Vellavatta, a man called Peter. And he said, "I was the waiter who served Sir John. And I was there, a witness to that incident." I was amazed. I sent a reporter all the way to Vellavatta and interviewed this man. His name was Peter. But that is the greatness of Sir John, that people remembered him and they liked what he did, because it was a time when nobody would dare question a British officer. Then there were incidents in my life where leadership mattered. I remember one occasion when, my memory is now leaving me, but let me just try and recollect that particular story. I was asked to produce a film, a 3-hour long film called Freedom in Papua New Guinea. It was not an independent country then. And there was a person called Michael Somare, who I and a friend had an appointment with. We waited and waited and waited. Michael Somare did not turn up. I was very, very angry. We had made this appointment a week ago and this man was not coming. So I turned to my friend and said, "Look at the way these people treat you." And he said, "That is not the point. It is not that he has not come. Why has he not come to see us?" And that's an aspect I never looked at. We never discovered why he did not come. But Michael Somare, 2 years later, became the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. He was a great man. He is the man who wrote the script for this film which I produced in Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea is an amazing country. 1,000 islands, 700 languages, 2.5 million people. What are our problems compared to what that country faced? But that's the incredible part of it. Because Papua New Guinea had no one language which everybody spoke. They all spoke different languages. They were in different villages. And so they invented a language called Pidgin language, invented by the Australians. You can't say 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger. Everything had to be personified. 1 pella, 2 pella, 3 pella finger. That's the way that they spoke. But what I remember more than anything else is the beautiful way the Pidgin language evolved and created things. Pidgin language, I'll just give you one example only. if you look at various modern things which they had never seen in Papua New Guinea. The piano. How do you describe a piano to somebody who has never seen a piano? How do you describe what the piano does to somebody who has never heard it? The word for piano is E black pela bokis. Suppose you bite him white pela teeth, he cry out. You can see for yourself the language. What a beauty. It described in a way that everybody could understand what this piano was all about. So the three little pigs became 1 pella, 2 pella, 3 pella pig. And so many ways. Some words were a bit more difficult. When they talked about something breaking down, they said, "E buggered up." But everybody enjoyed their time in Papua New Guinea, and many Sri Lankans are now serving there. So that is also part of the leadership that they were able to develop in a country of 1,000 tribes, people who would take responsibility for the country. And today they are independent and they are a proud nation. There you have gold and various other commodities which are very much in demand in the world. The other aspect I want to talk about is Upali Vijayawardena, a man I had the privilege of working with when he was the Director General of the GCEC at the time, of the Board of Investment, and I was looking after the press on behalf of him with contacts with many parts of the world. Once he asked Amaratunga, who was the director of local government of the GCEC, to prepare a report on what should be done with regard to a plane crash which occurred, you remember, near Adams Peak, and so many Indonesians died. And the people here wanted a monument erected in their name, and then land was given, and there was to be a special building which would commemorate those people who had died. I was there with Upali when J.K. Amaratunga presented this document that he had prepared to Upali. Upali looked at it, he opened the first page, then he closed it again, and he said, "So, what is your recommendation?" Amaratunga said, "No recommendation, sir. You are the Director General and you have to make the decision." I have never seen Upali Vijayawardena so angry. He took this book, this report, pushed it in front of him straight at Amaratunga, and he said, "I have not appointed you as the manager of local government of this institution for you to write a report and for me to make the decision. You make the decision, and I will honor it and support you." But that is greatness. That is greatness. And that's what Major General Milinda Peiris has shown. The leadership at the KDU, the leadership in battle, and the leadership in everything that he did. If we had people like those in this country, our country would not be in the mess that we are in. Because that is what leadership is all about. So I honor you, Major General Milinda Peiris. And when you came to me about a month ago and said, will you publish my book? I did not know him. I had never met him before. But just looking through the pages, I realized what a great man this was. And I said, yes, we will do it. And within 1.5 months, we produced this book. And I realized the greatness of this man when on Friday on Facebook, I put details of his book and about this man. 50,000 people watched that 36 hours, in the next 36 hours. That is greatness. That is the tribute that he left behind and will leave behind.
Thank you very much, sir, for those inspiring words. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to a significant segment of this memorable occasion, the book review. May I now have the honor of inviting Admiral Jayanath Columbage to deliver the book review, followed by a brief introduction to the author. Admiral Professor Jayanath Columbage, RSP, VSV, USP, FNI, served as the commander of the Sri Lanka Navy from 2012 to 2014. Following his retirement from the Navy, he served in the following distinguished appointments: Director for Indo-Sri Lanka Initiative and Law of the Sea Center at the Pathfinder Foundation, the Additional Secretary to the President of Sri Lanka for Foreign Relations, Director General of the Institute of National Security Studies of Sri Lanka, and the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Sir, over to you.
We do the impossible, but miracles just take little longer. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a slogan we use in the military and in the corporate world to highlight an unstoppable work ethic. Good evening to you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. If I have to take permission from all of you, most of you are my seniors, I will need my entire 20 minutes. Therefore, please allow me to say and salute all of you here and allow me to deliver my talk on the book. This book, Beyond Rank, The Leadership and Legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris, this miracle has taken 11 years. That is why I selected that slogan to start my speech. One of the first questions came to my mind when I was invited, and it was proven today when I see all these distinguished people. Why me doing this book review? Well, maybe I'm a beneficiary of General Milinda Peiris' great visionary at the KDU, and I will talk to you about that little later. Now, normally when I'm invited to do a book review, I try to do justice to the book, but how can I talk 420 odd pages, so many chapters in 20 minutes is a nightmare. We heard little while ago the compeer mention he can't categorize this book. I also cannot. Is it a military history? Is it the Sri Lanka's history? Is it about leadership? Is it simply a biography of a great person? So how can I talk about this book in 20 minutes? So I selected another option. I would take few key points from the book that I have personally experienced, that I have personally witnessed, and highlight them. Because if I start talking about General Milinda Peiris' childhood to today, I need long time. And I was never attached to the KDU. I have never ever worked per se with Major General Milinda Peiris, but I have been doing things with the KDU in other capacities under Milinda when he was Vice Chancellor. So at least I have some first-hand witness, and I'm a first-hand witness, and I have first-hand information about the transformation of the KDU. No offense to any former commandants or vice chancellors of KDU. To me, Milinda's contribution is simply outstanding, unparalleled, and unmatched. So I apologize to anyone if I say something wrong, but that is what I felt. Writing the foreword to this book, General Jerry De Silva, who was at one time my commandant too at the Konduwatuana Combat Training School in Ampara. And in his book, he mentioned about me. He writes, "My regret, and I commend for others too, is that General Milinda Peiris was unable to attain the highest rung in his military career, which he so richly deserved." Well, I do agree with you, sir, but I also want to differ with you. To me, Milinda had a different purpose. For me, Milinda had a different role to prove. The military commanders, including me, we come and go. We serve mostly our military. Of course, we serve the country. And when we are gone, we are gone. Yes, we keep coming back to the military, that's true. But Milinda's legacy is not limited to a single service. It is for all the three services. It is for academia, and it is for the country. So that is why I said, sir, that I slightly do not want to have a regret in that. On the contrary, I'm very happy he was Vice Chancellor. Of course, in any military officer's dream is to, if he can, to become the commander. That's perfectly true. I can understand that. But he rose to be the Chief of Staff, and there again he came back to the Kotalavala Defense Academy. So it is, or it was, a blessing in disguise for the sake of KDU, for the sake of military, for the sake of country. So ladies and gentlemen, this biography talks about his childhood, his school time, the day he joined the military, his family life, marrying Milan, the love of his life, but I don't know whether it was his first love, because his first love to me was Army, Armored Corps, and maybe then you, madam. I'm sorry if I say this, but when I read the book, that's the feeling I got. Right? He was first married to the Army, and of course to the Armored Corps. Of course, after 32 years of that life, then he found the true love. So he held many military appointments. He talked about that. And also a life and death experience during Operation Sajjaya. What I could gather from that is the fighting spirit in this man to overcome that difficult physical issue and run back to perform operational duties as quickly as he could. That is what I take from there. And of course, creating the fourth arm, I read a lot about it, and it was shown there also your dedication to the Armored Corps, and also creating the first tank regiment for the army. So he met Nilan after serving nearly so many years at the age of like 32, if I'm not mistaken. And they are beautiful sons, Malik and Avinash. All this story is there in the book. So this is for you to read and enjoy the book. And also, my main focus was his 2 tenures at the Kotalavala Defense University as the Vice Chancellor. And he also talks about his defense attaché time in Washington. And in that, I caught one very important aspect related to me and the Navy. He says, the destruction of 8 LTT warehouse ships by the Sri Lanka Navy in 2007 was the beginning of the end of the LTTE. Thank you, Milinda, publicly acknowledging the key role played by the Navy in making this great victory for our motherland. I'm sorry to say not many very senior officers acknowledge that fact. But thank you for doing that. And also you talk about MPI and CSI, Megaport Initiative and Container Security Initiative. As a maritime security practitioner, I was at the receiving end trying to learn and teach that to maritime security personnel in the port. So great work done by you. So as we heard, whether it is about military history, but it is a great biography to have. And thanks to you, we all heard, so I don't want to repeat, KDU has now become one of the foremost universities, military universities, according to Dr. Rohan Gunaratna, the 4th best military university in the world. No mean feat for a small country like Sri Lanka. Congratulations. So KDU has become a very inspirational institution thanks to great efforts undertaken by you. And in my observation, what you did was not only for the KDU, it enhanced regional cooperation. It enhanced military diplomacy. I think these are some great things that you did. And I was told that there are many foreign students in KDU now, at least from 5 countries. And from about 7 countries, there are expatriate students. And about 400 medical professionals from abroad have passed out and gone back to their country to serve. What great achievement. And we know that when you took over 2008, the faculty had only 15 academics. When you left, it was it was not even a faculty. The entire institution had 15 academics, but when you left, finally, it had 11 faculties, including medical, engineering, criminology, law, to name a few. So these are some of your great achievements. And we heard a lot from Mr. Vijitayappa about General Sir John Kotalavala. He and the founder of this university, Kotalavala Defense Academy, Deshamanya General Dennis Pereira, would be very happy to see the standards reached by the Kotalavala Defense Academy today. So you made everyone proud, Milinda. Now, we also heard about the international accolades which have come to the university, and it has become a member of Association of Commonwealth Universities and International Association of Universities as well. Unfortunately, I have not really worked in one team with Milinda, though we have crossed our path almost from 1980. When you went to Madras for training, I went to Dartmouth for training, and we have a common friend, Major L.A.P. Jayawardena, who is retired. And he used to write about you to me, to UK, because those days no WhatsApp, no Facebook, a letter about you and your training. So I had kind of an understanding about you even from that time. So we crossed our path, especially at KDU. I was a visiting lecturer, I was a board member, then I was proud to say one of your PhD student. Another thing I picked from this book is, I have read quite a lot of military biographies. Everybody say I was the best in everything I did. But you don't say that. You say I needed development in my formative years. You even goes to the extent of saying that you needed improvements in language skills. Now, I think this kind of an acceptance would have definitely helped you to develop current cadets. That's a rare thing that I have seen in your biography. So, ladies and gentlemen, in the army they say, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So, we have a perfect example, because what Milinda did with KDU was not easy. And it was not easy times as well. Still we were in a war. And when the war finished, after some time COVID came. And when the COVID finished, the economic collapse happened. So you had to fight 3 wars to make your progress, but you never gave up. That's the beauty of Major General Milinda Peiris. You had a foresight. And one thing I have seen as a board member of KDU is, you had a great vision. And you had answers to every question the board would ask you. The challenges, the difficulties, prospects, you had studied everything when you came to the board meeting. And that's how you succeeded in proving to the leadership that your ideas are workable, profitable in the long run. Sometimes it's not easy to comprehend every concept that you brought, because it was not the common practice. But that's what makes a difference in an institution like the Kotalavala Defense University. So well done for you doing that. So we heard that the leadership is not about the medals that you wear, but it's about the legacy that you leave. And you took it into your heart to develop KDU, not only for the military, but even for the civilian students as well. Now today, KDU is much looked after. They say, oh, it's a great place for discipline, timely completion of degree programs, no ragging, no protest, no agitations, hugely disciplined place, lot of activities, lot of facilities, great social life, saving money. So these are all thanks to our hero this evening, Major General Milinda Peiris. So ladies and gentlemen, now let me mention a point about me benefiting from one of the great initiatives that Milinda started. He started this Faculty of Graduate Studies, the beautiful hall that we are sitting together today, one of his initiatives. He created the Faculty of Graduate Studies because many senior officers, especially in the military, they could not develop an academic career. Academic credentials were not very easy to come by. Why? Because we were always in war. So he created a master's program, a bachelor's program, and in 2012, he wanted to create a PhD program. At that time, for a senior military officer, to do a PhD was next to impossible. I'm sure many universities would not have accepted us. But then we saw an opportunity here in the KDU, and the first batch of 22 joined in 2012, including me. And I'm very happy to say that I was the only one who completed exactly in 3 years. But of course, subsequently others completed too. And Senior Professor Emeritus Amal Jayawardhan, I don't know whether he is here, he told me my success was I was a good student. But at the end of my tough viva, Major General Milinda Peiris came to me and told me, "Sir, I'm very proud of you. You have become the first PhD graduate of KDU." Ladies and gentlemen, that is how my name, although I was never part of the KDU, is in the Hall of Fame. Thank you, Milinda, and thank you, the current Vice Chancellor as well, for putting my photo and my name and a write-up about me as the first PhD graduate of the KDU. Now that was a great vision, because until that time, we did not have the opportunity to do one. So Milinda, now I'd like to ask you a question. And you don't have to shout to answer. Yes, you can show me your finger and give me an answer. I not only achieved the PhD, even my becoming the Foreign Secretary and thereafter Ambassador is because of the PhD. So let me thank you personally for having the vision to do that. But my question to you is, now I got the graduation in 2015 October. How many speeches, papers, panels, conferences, seminars, book reviews I may have done until now? You can show by raising your finger, 1, 2, or 100 for 1. No, come on, give it a try. Because I want to really make you proud. 100, 200, 300. Okay, 100 you say. This is my 454th speech, panel, whatever you want to call it, thanks to the PhD. If I was only retired as the admiral, maybe I would have got few, but 454, that thanks to the vision of one person, that is Major General Milinda Peiris. Now we hear the KDU hospital is doing well. I remember when I was a board member, I even participated in the stone laying ceremony, and you even had to go to courts to prove. Now the government is willing to enter into a MOU with you to treat heart patients to clear the backlog. And you have even undertaken the SITAM batch and a UGC batch as well. Now this, I think Mr. Vijayappa mentioned, if we have few of these, this country would not be in where we are today. So you, and also now when we go to the Navy hospital, because that is one place we often meet, the hospital, we see so many young doctors. All are KDU product. Very young officers, very young doctors. During our time, I think most probably the doctors were very old, right? And maybe there were like 2 or 3, but there are so many now. And the beauty of it is, some of them are already specialized. Maybe at the age of like 30, 35. And we had carried them because they were the children of our superiors. Yeah. So that's again, thanks to your visionary leadership. So, ladies and gentlemen, this book is not about leadership alone. This is about commitment. This is about dedication. This is about vision. How to translate a vision to action. This is about responsibility. This is about military life, true, but it actually goes much, much more beyond that. So this is the value in this book, and it's going to be a very valuable piece of literature for the whole country. So Milinda, I think I will not dwell too much because you all have heard a lot about the KDU. And also allow me to mention, I remember how you transformed the KDU Research Symposium into an international research conference. Because I participated in the first 2, and I won the best prize, not because I was your friend. It was done by a peer review panel. And I saw that because I had participated in the KDU Research Symposium, and I had participated in the international research conference. So we heard the slogan that the success is not measured by medals or stars, but is measured by the legacy that someone leave, and you have done that brilliantly. So ladies and gentlemen, I recommend that we all read this book and learn from it, and also carry it forward to the next generations to come. And I came across another quotation when I wanted to finish my talk. Vision is art of seeing what is invisible to others. Please allow me to repeat that. Vision is art of seeing what is invisible to others. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our hero today, the autobiography of this great book, Beyond Rank. And in this, the miracle that I mentioned in the beginning has taken 12 years. Well done. And I will be failing in my duty if I do not acknowledge the author of the book. Kithsiri Amaratunga has done a very great job, patiently, a lot of information. So well done, Kithsiri. We have been knowing each other for a very long time, and you have done justice, I would say, to this great person that we are talking about. So, ladies and gentlemen, all my seniors, my colleagues, my friends, thank you very much for giving me this rare honor and rare opportunity to share my thoughts with you about a great visionary person, individual, a military leader, and a vice chancellor, and an academician, and all the things put in one. Good luck, and I wish Milinda, Nilan, and the family all the very best as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, I believe the first PhD of Kotalavara Defense University deserves another louder round of applause. And so, we wish you would deliver your 500th speech in the bigger and more sophisticated auditorium which is coming up in the KDU premises, which is again another great concept of General Milinda Peiris.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the pinnacle and epitome of the day's agenda, the book launch. For this, I respectfully invite the chief guest of this special occasion, General Jerry de Silva, accompanied by Mr. Kithsiri Amaratunga, the author, and Major General Milinda Peiris on stage for the momentous endeavor, the ceremonial handing over of the book Beyond Rank, Leadership and Legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris will now be presented to the chief guest of this special occasion.
So please remain on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the launch of the official website, a contemporary platform for disseminating knowledge and extending the reach of this significant work. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. The book is now available on the dedicated website, and you can access the book by scanning the QR code placed before you. As Beyond Rank, Leadership and Legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris embarks on its journey beyond these walls and reaches a wider readership and the learned community, may its pages continue to inspire, enlighten, and preserve the enduring values of leadership, service, and dedication.
Ladies and gentlemen, we also extend our heartiest congratulations to the author, Mr. Kithsiri Amaratunga, on bringing this remarkable legacy to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have come to a significant moment of today's ceremony, the address by the chief guest of this special occasion, General Jerry De Silva.
General Gerard Hector De Silva, RWP, VSV, USP. He is the 5th Chancellor of General Sir John Kotalawala Defence University, the 13th Commander of the Sri Lanka Army, and Sri Lanka's High Commissioner to Pakistan from 1996 to 1998. He authored A Most Noble Profession, A Memories That Linger in 2012, and War Heroes Killed in Action in 2016. He also contributed to the biography of the late General J.E.D. Pereira. Sir, we would be honored to hear your reflections and insights on this memorable occasion.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those wonderful words. Marshal of the Air Force, Roshan Gunatilaka, former ambassadors of the Foreign Service, retired senior officers of the military, Chancellor and Vice Chancellor of KDU, Commander of the Army, retired commanders of the Tri-Forces, former Chancellors and Vice Chancellor of the KDU, military and civilian staff of the KDU, all Nalandians, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. My dear friend, then Colonel Nanda Silva of the Armored Corps was on my staff when I was the Security Forces Commander of the North, based in Jaffna. Later, when I was promoted to the rank of Major General in January 1990 and mandated to form a new infantry division, which became the 3rd Division of the Army, I confided in Colonel Nanda Silva and requested him to propose the name of a reliable and efficient officer to help me raise the new division. He promptly proposed the name of Major Milinda Peiris, who I had no knowledge of or even met. Together, we commenced work on the onerous responsibility we were bestowed with. Just the two of us and 5 other ranks, mainly clerical staff. We raised 3 divisions initially at Pallakale, co-located with the 5th Volunteer Battalion of the Sri Lanka Light Infantry. We were graciously allocated 2 rooms at the headquarters of 5SLLI, one for me and my staff officer, and the other for the other rank staff. The tactical area of responsibility of 3 divs included the districts of Kandy, Matale, Kegol and Putlam. The Deputy Minister of Defence, Honorable Ranjan Vijayaratna, visited Kandy, and I thought it fit to suggest to him, especially as Tamil militancy was gathering momentum, to relocate 3 divs in the operational area, thereby to be made better use of. He agreed, and not long after, 3 divisions commenced operations as the Army's Eastern Command. Eastern Command was initially co-located with the Combat Training School in Ampare, and the commandant at that time was Colonel Asoka Javardhana. Asoka soon found us alternate accommodation at the holiday complex of the Electricity Board, situated opposite the Hardy Institute of Technical Training in Ampare. A few months later, Eastern Command had to up sticks again, once more, and moved to the rest house complex in Batiklo, co-located with the Infantry Brigade commanded by Brigadier AMU Seniviratna. Next, we had a short spell in Menneria, co-located with the Infantry Training Center, and finally, a permanent home in Velikanda in the Polonnaruwa district. Eastern Command, now a fully fledged infantry division, made its presence felt by clearing the Batiklo district, occupied by the militants, who had even infiltrated the local government institutions. Concerted action by Eastern Command, strengthened with infantry battalions from the Singer Regiment, commanded by then Colonel Sarat Fonseca, and the Gamnuwatch Battalion, commanded by Colonel Egodavela. We soon cleared the area of Tamil militant domination and made the militants find refuge in jungle bases such as in Kanchikudicharu, those of you know these bases, Kanchikudicharu in Ampare, Tuppigala in Batiklo, Angodavillu in the Somati sanctuary at the confluence of the Mahaveli Ganga and Verugolaru in Polonnaruwa, and the Kumburupiti jungles in the Trincomalee district. For the invaluable services rendered to 3D by Major Milinda Peiris, I requested for the appointment of Milinda on my personal staff as my military assistant when I assumed command as Army Commander on 1st January 1994, thereby breaking with military tradition maintained up to that time by having an officer with different regimental affiliations to the Army Commander. Milinda's career was an exceptional journey of an outstanding officer who left an indelible signature on the development of the KDU. He was brought back into the military mainstream and appointed Vice Chancellor of the KDU for an unprecedented second term in recognition of his unparalleled, worthy and precious services rendered during his first term as Vice Chancellor. His biography extols at length his tremendous contribution to the Army, the KDU, and our nation. With his brand of work ethics, foresight, planning, motivation, and innovations, his efforts were manifested with an enviable service of inspiration and pride. His behavior was modest, conversation kind, and actions edifying. He was gifted with unwavering determination and sober willingness to confront risks ahead with dignity and aplomb in the pursuit of his goals. He was proactive and reliable. With his persuasive words of human wisdom, Milinda was instrumental in bringing together military and civilian staff of the KDU to build the magnificent edifice the KDU is today, recognized as one of the best military universities in the world. Credence of this fact is borne out by the many foreign undergraduates pursuing graduate studies in the various disciplines offered at the KDU. As a schoolboy at Nalanda College, Colombo, he was a member of the Scout troop and a cadet. He was an ardent Buddhist. He was ardent in his Buddhist practices and organized an association to help the poor and marginalized in society with counseling services and the supply of essential commodities to ease their burdens. Later in life, he was appointed Chief Scout Commissioner for his services to Scouting. To satiate his spirit of adventure, he formed a mountaineering and exploration club and reveled in the adventures undertaken. He was prudent in his undertakings, courageous in danger, patient in trials, and humble in success. I would now like to quote from the memoirs of Sir John Kotalavala, which I am sure inspired Milinda. I quote, "Sport and military training did as much for me as many other men for developing the team spirit and discipline, the ability to face triumph and disaster with equanimity, which are so useful in fitting one for public life." In the foreword to this biography, I have made mention of the outstanding leadership qualities of this indefatigable officer and gentleman, mixed with his unique personality and equally unique professionalism. Most in the military predicted that he would attain the highest rung in his military career, as mentioned before. Unfortunately, he was denied the distinction due to circumstances beyond his control. Yet, he enjoyed some satisfaction when he ascended to the second slot as Chief of Staff in a most honorable and excellent military career. Finally, I would like to extend my very best wishes to General Milinda and his family to prosper abundantly in all endeavors in the future. May the Devas be with them to guide and protect them always in achieving greater heights throughout life. I thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, a book is more than a collection of words. It is a lasting record of knowledge, experience, and wisdom. When shared, it extends the author's journey beyond the pages and allows his insight and experiences to inspire the generations to come.
As we celebrate the launch of Beyond the Rank, leadership and legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris, we now come to a significant moment in this ceremony, the presentation of the book to distinguished personalities who have honored us with their presence today.
This book represents not only a remarkable military career, but also a legacy of leadership, service, discipline, and the commitment to the nation. Its message transcends rank and profession, offering valuable insights to military personnel, academics, students, and all those who aspire to lead with purpose and integrity.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my privilege to invite the Major General Milinda Peiris, accompanied by Mr. Kithsiri Amaratunga, to present a copy of this significant work to the following dignitaries.
Marshal of the Air Force Roshan Gunathilaka,
Lieutenant General KVNP Premaratna, the Commander of the Sri Lanka Army.
Mr. Priyantha Veerasurya, the Inspector General of Police,
General Kamal Gunaratna, the former Secretary to the Ministry of Defence and a key figure who extended immense support for the expansion of KDU during the second tenure of Major General Milinda Peiris.
General S.H.S. Kotegoda, the Chancellor of KDU,
Rear Admiral H.G.U. Dhammika Kumara, the Vice Chancellor of KDU.
Madam Dennis Pereira, as a gesture of gratitude towards the late General Dennis Pereira, the founder of Kotalavala Defence University.
Madam Lali Kobekaduwa, as a mark of gratitude to late General Dennis Kobekaduwa, a respected mentor in Major General Milinda Peiris' formative days in the Sri Lanka Army.
Admiral Professor Jayanath Kolambage,
Air Vice Marshal P.N. De Costa, the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Sri Lanka Air Force.
Mr. Deshan Milinda, representing the Chief Commissioner of the Sri Lanka Scout Association,
Major General Nakitha Bambaradeniya, representing the Colonel Commandant of the Sri Lanka Armed Corps, which is the parent regiment of General Milinda Peiris.
Major General Vijayanath Jayavira, the Commandant of the Defence Services Command and Staff College and Colonel of the Regiment of the Mechanized Infantry Regiment, which Major General Milinda Peiris served as the Colonel Commander in his first appointment. Mrs. Anupa Veeraratna, the Deputy Principal of Nalanda College, representing the Principal. Mr. Bandara Disanayaka, the chairman of the CG's campus and Sakya Group of Companies. Thank you, sirs.
Ladies and gentlemen, every book begins with a vision, but it is through the author's words that its purpose, inspiration, and journey truly comes to life. Now, I respectfully invite Mr. Kithsiri Amaratunga on stage to enlighten this journey of beyond rank, leadership, and legacy.
General G.H. De Silva, our chief guest, all distinguished invitees, Admiral Jayannath Columbigay, Major General Milinda Peiris, KDU colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Before I tell you how Beyond Rank came to be, let me share something I have deliberately kept for this particular moment. We first hoped to launch Beyond Rank on 12th August last year. That was General Milinda's birthday. But we failed. Our second option was his next birthday, 12th August 2026. 3 weeks ago. We failed that too. So we missed 2 occasions, but sometimes missing a date leads you to a better one. Because today, the 25th of August, we launch Beyond Rank on a very special day. Milinda and Nilan's 32nd wedding anniversary. And there is an extraordinary connection. 32 years ago, our chief guest this evening, General Jerry De Silva, Milinda's mentor and the commander of the army at that time, attested Milinda and Nilan's marriage. So before I say anything more, may I invite all of you to join me in wishing them a very happy anniversary. And now, let me tell you how I got into this trouble in the first place. One day in April 2023, when I was the Dean of the Faculty of Management, Social Sciences and Humanities, I got a call from the Vice Chancellor's ADC. He said, sir, the Vice Chancellor wants to see you in his office. But when I got that information, I was wondering what good news was awaiting me. I knew that usually we don't get good news there. So I thought, okay, what didn't I do? or what did I do, what thing that I have forgotten to do, and I was just having a quick audit of my past activities. Anyways, I decided, okay, I have to go and meet him. I walked across to the headquarters and entered Vice Chancellor's office. And he asked me to sit down. And then came a rather unexpected question. He asked, Kithsiri, are you engaged in any serious work these days? As the dean, I hope I didn't say no too quickly. Then he came to the point. Would you write my biography? I had never written a biography before, but General Milinda seemed confident that I could do it. And my response was simply, why not, sir? Let's do it. And that was how we began the work on Beyond Rank. I walked into the Vice Chancellor's office, wondering what administrative mistake I had made. I walked out with nearly 3 years of work. I'm still not sure which would have been the lighter punishment. But as those 3 years unfolded, I realized that General Milinda had entrusted me with something much more significant. This was not simply the story of a military officer who rose to Major General rank, nor simply that of a Vice Chancellor who transformed KDU. It was a story about leadership, how it is formed, how it is tested, and perhaps most importantly, what it leaves behind. That eventually led us to the title Beyond Rank. As you all know, rank matters enormously in the military. It defines authority, responsibility, and command. Titles and positions matter in universities and other institutions too. But rank or title itself does not make a leader. A position may give us authority over people. It cannot make people believe in us. And however distinguished, rank eventually comes to an end. What remains is what a person has done with authority and opportunities entrusted to him. That, to me, is the central message that emerges from Beyond Rank. As I listened to General Milinda recount his life, I began to see that the Vice Chancellor many of us knew had been shaped long before he arrived at KDU. There was a schoolboy who dismantled household appliances to understand how they worked, built model aircrafts, and dreamt of becoming a pilot. There was the President Scout whose adventures taught him endurance and teamwork, and who, in one remarkable coincidence, once visited Surgeon Kothalawala at Kandawala Estate, never imagining that the same estate would one day house the university he would lead. Then came military training, the Armored Corps, and the influence of commanders such as General Denzil Kobekadua and our chief guest himself. They have experiences that tested him in very different ways, confronting the human devastation of the Kantale tank breach, traveling secretly to Czechoslovakia to help select the T-55 tanks that would form Sri Lanka's first tank regiment, leading armor in battle, and serving at the highest levels of Army headquarters. And then came adversity of a much more personal kind. In September 1996, as I mentioned earlier, during Operation Satyajaya 3, he was seriously wounded. His injuries were life-threatening. What followed was not one dramatic moment, but a prolonged struggle through field hospital, surgery, uncertainty, and rehabilitation. At one stage, there was serious doubts about whether physical recovery would even be possible. Yet, he survived. And remarkably, he returned to service while still struggling with effects of those injuries. Sometimes the true character of leadership emerges not when circumstances favor us, but when the future itself becomes uncertain. Resilience, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, became one of the recurring themes of this book, Beyond Rank. Milinda's journey then moved through senior command, military diplomacy in Washington, D.C., the National Defense College in India, and eventually into higher education. When he became the Vice Chancellor of KDU in December 2008, it was still a relatively small institution, as it was mentioned earlier as well, with no faculties, no deans, no senates. What followed forms one of the central narratives of Beyond Rank. Medicine appeared where there had been no medical faculty. Engineering followed, then law, management and social sciences and humanities, allied health sciences, graduate studies, and other academic disciplines. The university moved beyond Ratmalana to Erahara and to the southern campus at Surya Weber. Civilian day scholars entered what had once been almost exclusively military academic environment. Some ideas succeeded quickly, others faced resistance, some took years to materialize, a few never did. But gradually, KDU evolved from a defense academy into a multidisciplinary university with a much wider national role. Yet, ladies and gentlemen, institutional transformation is not ultimately about buildings, faculties, or statistics. It is about creating possibilities. And an institution matters when what has been created continues after the person who initiated it has left. That is where achievement becomes legacy. There is, however, something I should add, particularly with so many former members, our friends of KDU and those who are working at present. Milinda was not always the easiest vice chancellor to work for. I suspect he will not regard this as a criticism. In fact, he may regard it as a compliment. He demanded standards. He expected deadlines to be met. And he had an extraordinary ability to discover that something had not been done. Sometimes I felt before the person responsible had discovered it himself. But much of that relentless pressure came from his conviction that KDU could become something greater than it was. And many of us sitting here today were willingly, or perhaps occasionally not entirely willingly, recruited into that ambition. The leader may articulate the vision, but many hands must build that institution. That is why KDU's story in this book is not just Milinda's story. It belongs also to the military officers, academics, administrators, professionals, support staff, and students who participated in that transformation. Over nearly 3 years, General Milinda and I spent many hours in conversation. He did not, of course, remember his life conveniently arranged into chapters 1 to 7. One story led to another. We could begin with KDU and suddenly find ourselves inside a T-55 tank 30 years earlier. Move from battlefield in the north to the aftermath of Kantale disaster. Travel to Czechoslovakia, Bangladesh, Washington, and eventually find our way back to Kandavale. My task was to bring those fragments together, to verify them, place them in their historical setting, and discover the connections between them. Gradually, I encountered not merely the general or the vice chancellor, but Milinda, the son and brother, husband and father, scout, cavalryman and comrade, wounded soldier, diplomat, institution builder, and particularly the friend who sustained relationships across countries and decades. Many representing those different chapters of his life are sitting before me this evening. So, in a sense, I'm looking not merely at an audience, but at some of the living sources of this biography. I only hope none of you decides to correct me my facts before I finish. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout the writing, I held one principle. This should not become an exercise of glorification. And that was General Milinda's requirement as well. To understand the leader, we must understand the making of the person. Achievement, certainly. But also adversity, disappointment, friendship, recovery, and change. And because Milinda's journey intersects with a conflict that shaped a generation of military officers, Sri Lanka's military engagement abroad, and the transformation of KDU, Beyond Rank becomes in places something more than one man's biography. It becomes a small cross-section of our contemporary history. Now, to the officer cadets and students here this evening, Beyond Rank offers more than the story of one man's journey. It reminds us that leadership is not ultimately measured by the rank we attain or the position we hold, but by what we do with the responsibility entrusted to us, the opportunities we create for others, and what we leave behind. So aspire to lead, but aspire also to serve, to make a difference, and to leave something worthwhile for those who follow. And that message is not confined to the military. It applies to anyone entrusted with responsibility for others. Ladies and gentlemen, writing Beyond Rank also allowed me to revisit an institution in which I had spent much of my professional life. I had witnessed KDU's transformation from within. Writing the book allowed me to see it again, with distance, documentary evidence, and General Milinda's recollections. And I must admit, events sometimes look rather different when you are no longer sitting in the dean's office in the midst of them. For me, writing this book has therefore been both a privilege and a responsibility. I will keep my acknowledgements very brief. Many who helped me and General Milinda are already acknowledged in the book. And Malik is waiting to deliver the vote of thanks. I have no intention of doing his job before he gets to the microphone. I must, however, mention Mr. Amaratunga, whose extraordinary commitment to the preparation and presentation of this book went far beyond what could reasonably have been expected. And Admiral Professor Jayanath Kolambage, whose contribution came after the book went to print, kindly undertook the responsibility of reviewing it this evening. Taraka and Admiral, my sincere thanks to both of you. And I shall stop there before Malik begins to worry. There's, however, one final person I must thank. It is none other than General Milinda. Not simply for asking me to write your story, but for trusting me with it. To entrust another person with the triumphs and disappointments, friendships and losses, strengths and vulnerabilities of a lifetime is an act of confidence. Milinda, I believe I have tried my best to honor that confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of a military career, uniforms are put away, appointments come to an end, offices are occupied by someone else. Even the most distinguished titles eventually become lines in a biography. But the consequences of leadership can continue. In institutions, in people, in opportunities created for generations one may never meet, and in the values and examples that others choose to carry forward. That is why this book is called Beyond Rank. It is not ultimately a book about rank, it is about what a person does with rank and what remains after rank. If, on closing this book, readers look beyond what Milinda achieved and reflected, instead of what his journey can teach us about leadership, resilience, service, and building institutions that endure, then I believe Beyond Rank will have served its purpose. So, as this 3-year journey comes to an end, I return to where it began, in April 2023, with an unexpected summons and no idea where it would lead. Tonight, looking at this book and at all of you gathered here, I think I finally have the answer. It was a journey worth making. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, gratitude is the highest expression of appreciation, and every memorable occasion is made meaningful by acknowledging those who have contributed to its success. As we draw this distinguished ceremony to a close, it is my privilege to invite Mr. Malik Peiris to deliver the vote of thanks, expressing our sincere appreciation to all those who have graced this occasion and contributed to making the launch of Beyond Rank, Leadership and Legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris a truly remarkable, memorable, and an auspicious event. Over to you, Mr. Malik.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you all. On behalf of Major General Milinda Peiris, retired, and our family, it is my great privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on this very special occasion. The launch of Beyond Rank, Leadership and Legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris. First and foremost, our profound gratitude goes to our chief guest, General Jerry De Silva and Madam De Silva, for honoring this occasion with his distinguished presence. Sir, we are deeply grateful for your gracious address and particularly for the contribution towards the forward to Beyond Rank. Your words add immense value and meaning to this book, and it's a privilege to have you with us this evening. We are deeply honored by the presence of the Commander of the Army, Lieutenant General Nilantha Premaratne, and the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Priyantha Veerasurya. Your presence has added a great distinction to this occasion. And we sincerely thank you for taking the time to join us. Our heartfelt appreciation also goes to Admiral Jayanath Kolabage for his thoughtful and comprehensive review of Beyond Rank. Your reflections have offered all of us a valuable perspective on the book and on the remarkable journey captured within its pages. We also extend our sincere gratitude to the former Secretaries of Defense, former Commanders and Chief of Staffs of the Tri-Services, and all serving and retired senior officers who have honored us with their presence to evening. Many of you have shared different chapters of my father's journey, some on the battlefield, some through years of military and public service, others through friendships that have endured for decades. Your presence here this evening is therefore not only an honor, but deeply meaningful to him and to our entire family. Our sincere appreciation goes to Mr. Kithsiri Amaratunga, the author of Beyond Rank, for the extraordinary dedication, patience, and commitment with which he has brought my father's story to life. Transforming a lifetime of experiences, memories, achievements, and relationships into a book is no small undertaking. We are deeply grateful for the countless hours, conversations, and effort he invested in ensuring that this story was told with the care it deserved. We also extend our sincere appreciation to Mr. Vijitayapa, Chairman Vijitayapa Publications, for taking on the publication of Beyond the Rank, and particularly for bringing this book to readers with such a remarkable short period of time. A special word of appreciation must go to Professor Rohan Gunaratne, whose encouragement, guidance, and assistance, particularly introducing with the publisher, played an important role in bringing this book to fruition. We are also privileged to have with us General Shantha Kottegoda, Chancellor of KDU, Vice Admiral Dhammika Kumara, Vice Chancellor of KDU, as well as the former UGC chairmen, chancellors, and vice chancellors of universities who have joined us this evening. Your presence reflects another important dimension of my father's journey. His contribution to education and academia, and we are truly grateful. Our appreciation also goes to Mr. Bandara Disanayake, Chairman of SAGE's campus, and his dedicated team for their valued presence and support. Our sincere thanks also goes to Mr. Champika Silva, Principal of Nalanda College, together with our distinguished academics, educators, colleagues, and friends who have joined us today. I would particularly like to place on record our appreciation to the Vice Chancellor, Rear Admiral Dhammika Kumara, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Brigadier Pradeep Ratnayaka, and Brigadier Aravinda Hapugoda, and the entire KDU team for the tremendous effort that has gone into organizing this event. Your professionalism, attention to detail, and untiring work behind the scenes have made this event possible, and our family is sincerely grateful. Also, appreciate the immense support extended by the Colonel of Commandant, Major General Milinda Silva, and his team of officers of Sri Lankan Armed Corps. We also sincerely thank Mr. Sajith Kodikara, Chairman, and Mr. Sajjana Kodikara of Imagine Entertainment for their contribution towards the video walls, lighting, and other technical arrangements that have added so much to the presentation and atmosphere of this evening. A special word of appreciation also goes to our compeers, Group Captain Chaminda Ranasinghe, retired, Dr. Danisha Pereira, and Ms. Vasana Sudhusinghe for conducting this evening's proceedings with such professionalism and grace. We would also like to extend our appreciation to all members of the media who have joined us this evening and for their support in taking this story and message of Beyond Rank to a wider audience. Also, appreciate efforts taken by Dr. Darshana Asoka Kumara and Ms. Manuri Veleboda for media coordination, and Janidu and Manula Vitanage for the web design. I would also like to acknowledge Ms. Lakshani Vilyarachi for reading through the manuscript, Mr. Tharaka Marasinghe for his assistance with the initial page setting, and Mr. Ruwan Ratnayaka for his support during the early stages of the book. Every contribution, particularly during these formative stages, helped bring us this evening today. Ladies and gentlemen, before I move forward towards my concluding acknowledgements, allow me to say a few words about the person whose journey who has brought all of us together tonight. My father, Major General Milinda Peiris. Tati, thank you for having the courage and generosity to share your life, experiences, reflections and memories with others. Beyond Rank is not simply a record of distinguished military career. It tells a much wider story, a story of service and leadership, of challenges and sacrifice, of friendship and education, and above all, of family. As your sons and as your family, seeing that journey captured within these pages is a source of immense pride. There is also a special word of thanks that must go to the families behind the two people who made this book possible, the author, Mr. Kithsiri Amaratunga, and my father. In particular, to Mr. Amaratunga's wife, Shamali Amaratunga, and children, Sumindu and Kitmi, thank you for so generously sharing his time with us through the many hours, discussions and meetings that went into creating this book. This achievement belongs in part to you as well. And then there is one very special person, again, stood quietly in the background, making it possible. She sought no recognition and expected nothing in return. She simply believed that my father's story, his experiences, and the lessons of his journey deserve to be preserved and shared with future generations. So, on behalf of our family, I want to say a very special thank you, Ammi. This book may carry Tata's name on its cover, but its pages is also part of your love, your sacrifice, and your unwavering support. I would also like to thank my brother, Avinash, and every member of our family for their love, encouragement, and support throughout this journey. A very special acknowledgement must also go to my father's former ADCs, Colonel Dr. Pandula Nishankar, Major Dr. Dimuthu Priyadarshana, Major Pramodya Di Silva, and also Major Dennis Disanayaka for the tremendous amount of work they have done behind the scenes to make today's event a success. Much of what we have experienced this evening is the result of your tireless efforts, coordination, and commitment. Our family is deeply grateful. To all of our friends, relatives, colleagues, and well-wishers, thank you for standing beside my father and our family throughout the many chapters of this journey. And most importantly, for being here to celebrate this new chapter with us today. There are many others who have contributed to this book and to this evening. Some visibly and many quietly behind the scenes. To each and every one of you, please accept my heartfelt gratitude. And I have inadvertently omitted anyone by name. Please accept my sincere apologies. It is certainly not due to a lack of appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, your presence here this evening is perhaps the greatest tribute you could pay to my father and the greatest encouragement you could give to our family. On behalf of Major General Milinda Peiris, retired, and our entire family, thank you once again for honoring us with your presence, for being part of the launch of Beyond Rank, Leadership and Legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris. As you read this book, I hope you discover within its pages not merely the story of a soldier or a career of a general, but the story of a man beyond the rank. His services, his leadership, his friendships, his experiences, his values, and above all, the people who walked the journey with him. And perhaps that is what makes the title Beyond Rank so fitting. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. Thanks.
May beyond rank, leadership and legacy of Major General Milinda Peiris continue to inspire us to value knowledge, embrace leadership, and serve with purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, with these thoughts, we conclude the book launch of Beyond Rank, Leadership and Legacy by Mr. Kithsiri Amaratunga. Thank you all for being part of this memorable occasion, and we wish you a pleasant evening ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, you are invited for the group photograph, followed by the reception, refreshments, and a time of intellectual fellowship at the second floor. Thank you.